Please give me a moment while I connect to Facebook. We'll be getting started momentarily. And I think we should be live on Facebook. Hi everybody. Welcome to another weekly video of the Strategic Swing Trader. I am Sami Abu Saad. I hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a great weekend so far. We're going to do what we always do, which is go over the market and go over some amazing swing ideas for next week. Before we start, as always, a standard required disclaimer to let you know that trading is risky and that whatever we discuss in this video is for educational purposes only. If you'd like to download a copy of my free ebook, link for that is in the description of the video. Also, in the description of the video below, you will find a link for our sale. We have a sale going on for the next 10 days where you can buy 1 month, you get the second month free. That applies to the day trading chat room. That also applies to the swing trading newsletter, the Strategic Swing Trader. So check that out, link in the description. The sale will end, I think, on April 10th. So you still have a week and a half if you want to think about it. But check it out in the description. Without further ado, let's get started. Let's take a look at the market since we last talked about it last week and see what we can find. If you find benefit in today's video and you'd like to help support our channel, please be sure to hit the like button. Last week, we had a pretty long video. I tried to keep the video as short as possible while also saying what I need to say, which is going over the market and the swing ideas. But we had a long video last week because I told you from a fundamental point of view, I don't even know why the market is rallying. We have inflation, geopolitical stuff, oil prices through the roof, and on top of that, the Federal Reserve is not going to be able to do anything about it. In fact, the Federal Reserve has to remove liquidity from the market, has to tighten liquidity and raise interest rates to fight inflation. So if anything, whatever the Fed's going to do is should have an adverse reaction to the market. But the bullishness in the market is undeniable. Okay, that's kind of what I said last week. I said more, but that's basically what I said. From a technical point of view, the bullishness is undeniable. From an economic fundamental point of view, we should be bearish. But I always go with price. I don't go with opinions, with what I think should be happening, what I think should happen. I just let price tell me what I should do. And as a result, I said I'm bullish. We had a pop the first couple of days of last week, and then we had a pullback. And now we have, if you look at the weekly chart, we have what you would consider a sell setup. So a 3-bar counter rally towards that declining 20 on the weekly time frame of the Qs, which is the Nasdaq. Basically, it's the tracking ETF for the top 100 companies in the Nasdaq, which make up maybe up to 95% of the entire Nasdaq market cap. So it's basically, this is the Nasdaq. Here's the S&P 500. Looks the same, similar, almost the same, but slightly even stronger. The 20 is even flatter. So this is not a good sell setup, just FYI, because the initial move started from a wide range igniting bar. You don't want to see this much bullishness. The same with the Qs, but the SPY maybe even more so. And yet, if we take out last week's low, which is 358 on the Qs, and on the SPY 499, that triggers the sell setup. Okay, so again, under last week's low, we should come in a little bit at least. And then if we do come in, hopefully we come into the 20 MA on the daily chart and get a buy setup. A buy setup is when you have a pullback. It's the opposite of a sell setup. When you have a pullback towards the rising 20. So we get a buy setup, and if the buy setup fails, then I'll be bearish. Okay, I still have the TQQ in my IRA account. I haven't sold a single share. Okay, so again, if we come in into the rising 20, and I'll show you what I mean exactly. So just for those that maybe are not very familiar with technical analysis, let's say we come in a little bit towards that 20 MA on the daily chart. We will probably get a rally if we were to do that. We get a rally, let's say right here, get a rally like so. And if that rally were to get negated, if we were to come back down and fail on that rally, then I will be bearish, just like most of you probably are. But I'm not until this happens, which is unlikely to happen. Unlikely to happen. Otherwise, I'd be out of the TQQ. In my swing trading account, I sold the TQQ at the absolute high. Okay, I had 1,000 shares. And then I have 500 shares in my IRA account, which I'm not looking to sell unless, again, I turn bearish. The market is bullish. I got a really great entry. Why get out? Okay, it's a long-term play. So that's kind of the game plan for next week as it relates to the market. We are currently doing a pullback. If we take out last week's low, we probably will come in a little bit more, and I'm hoping we come in to the 20 MA on the daily chart. Okay, if we do, then I will look for the buy setup to trigger. If the buy setup triggers, which it will most likely, then the bias will still remain bullish. But if the buy setup triggers, meaning we take out the last bar's high and we go higher and then fail, then I'll be bearish. Does that make sense? So it's perfect logic if you're following along what I'm saying. Now, we might not even come in. We might tomorrow, we might open up or move higher. Especially if you look at, the Qs doesn't look as bullish, because it's not that it doesn't look as bullish, but it's extended. It's far from the 20. The SPY is sitting at the 200, sitting at support. The IWM is right at the rising 20. So it is even, I would say, more likely that we would not get a pullback to the 20 MA on the daily chart of the Qs, that we would just keep going up. So anything can happen. Again, it's probably more likely that we would just keep going up, but I'm hoping we come in. If we break under last week's low, I'm expecting to get a little pullback towards that 20 MA on the daily chart. We get the pullback, we go back up, we fail on that, then bearish. Otherwise, my bias for next week and the week after will remain bullish. Now, in terms of where I think the best ideas are, I don't think it's going to be in the US equities market. I don't think so, because I don't think we're going back to the prior high like right away. We've had a pretty substantial move. If you took advantage of it and you played long, kudos to you. You've done right, because you made money. Okay, and that's the only thing that counts in trading. If you haven't, then I think it's going to be, and we still continue higher, I think probably on the way back up, it's going to be choppy, because we don't have multiple time frame alignment between the monthly, which has a beautiful buy setup, and the weekly, which has a declining 20. So it's going to be probably choppy. That's why I don't think the best ideas, long-term ideas, are going to come from so much from the U.S. equities market. If you want to know what I think it's going to be the cryptocurrency market. Talked about it last week. That's actually Ether. Here's Bitcoin, the same picture. Ether's a little bit stronger. I think, in my opinion, that's where the money is going to be. If the market remains bullish, if the market tanks, then we might, this buy setup might fail, which is unlikely. I have a position in Bitcoin. I have a position in Ether. I have multiple positions in Ether, meaning I have it in my swing account, ETHE, and I have ETH, Ethereum cryptocurrency, and I have other the small altcoins as well. So I'm bullish, obviously, but we'll see what the market does. The next 2 weeks, I think, are going to be really, really important, because that should tell us whether we're going to remain bullish or come back in. And again, based on the fundamentals, I'm in agreement with, because most of the comments last week, every comment I think on the YouTube video was, no, we topped and we're lower. I agree with you from based on the fundamentals, based on what's happening and what the Fed policy is going to be, based on the fact that we ran up for 20 years non-stop almost, right? And maybe not 20, but since 2009, since March of 2009, we basically have never had, we've had like one down year, which was, I believe, 2018, 6%, I believe. That's it. And so, yeah, based on all of that, based on the fact that the Qs from bottom to top since March of 2020 to the high, we went up 164%. You know, you would think we would get a pullback for a year or two, and mostly because of the Fed policy going forward is not going to be supportive of a bullish market, basically. But as I said, I go with price, and price for now is bullish. Price action is bullish. So I think it's going to be crypto. Maybe it will also be the Chinese stocks. I'm in the YINN from the absolute bottom. I'm also in BABA from the absolute bottom. I called both of them in the day trading chat room live. So I'm in both of these in my IRA account only. So those are long term, and I think if, you know, barring a drop in the market, I think the Chinese stocks will do really well. I scanned the entire Chinese stock list of stocks. I didn't know there were 235 stocks listed in the US that are Chinese companies. 235, that's a lot. So I scanned the whole list. I narrowed it down to 50, and then I narrowed it down to a dozen names that I really like. But one can also play the sector. FXI or the triple leverage ETF of FXI is the YINN, which is what I'm in. I don't have the FXI. So, or, you know, some of the other leveraged ETFs, I think CWEB CWEB. It's also Chinese for internet companies, Chinese internet companies, triple leveraged. I think those will maximize the results if we continue to have a bullish market. So that's where I think the opportunities are going to be. They're going to be in China, Chinese stocks. They're going to be in crypto more so than the US equities markets. Now, I try to pick the best of the US stocks, especially the ones that look good long term. And so, you know, those will continue to do well, in my opinion. We had a bunch of long-term plays that triggered last week, like KHC, long-term based on the monthly, TMUS, long-term. I'm just talking about last week's plays that triggered long-term plays. PanW triggered not last week. I think it was like a couple weeks ago on the buy setup. I think that's a good long-term. What else do I have long-term? That triggered bunch of things. .Q, but that's not last week. That's from the lows. It's up like 40% almost from this day. So I have a bunch of long-term plays. I have TWOU also that I'm considering long-term. I have Wix long-term also. So there's a bunch that I like long-term that are US-based companies that I think will do well, but they're the ones that got, for the most part, with the exception of maybe PanW, that got decimated recently, that dropped really hard in the last this year. Okay, so we'll see. And then as I said, you know, those stocks are good, I think, and crypto's good. But if the market tanks, if the market ends up being the top, then I want to sell all of them, just about all of them. So the next couple of weeks are going to be really key for the market to see what ends up happening. Okay, sorry about the long discussion there, but I hope you find benefit in it. I enjoy this stuff, so sometimes it's hard for me to not discuss it and just go straight into the plays. For next week, CHK is almost a missed play. It's an energy stock. It reported earnings this day, so the day before I scanned and I saw, wow, this looks like it's gonna break out, and I still didn't get it. So that was really the day to get it when it was at like less than $70. It's at 90. It had a buy setup that was pretty deep but worked, and now it has a breakout. So over the base, long, stop right here. Not terrible. But I wish I got it here or there. Those would have been better entries, obviously. Okay? But it looks good on the monthly, CHK. Looks good still. CPSH is a 1, 2, 3 play. So you have the igniting bar, you have a narrow range bar, and then long if it triggers, if the stock goes above 550. Stop under 490, and then target is off the chart. I would have to zoom out to see it. That would be target 1, 650 or so, and target 2 is at 950. So it's a big target, target 2 at least. Target 1 is a little bit small, about $1. So that's a CPSH. I like it. DNA is trying to transition on the daily chart, trying to, ending the downtrend. Just like a lot of the things that I'm in, Wix, right? That's ended the downtrend. TWOU, which is an open position in the newsletter, and my own account too. So you see how it's been in a long-term downtrend, and then ended the downtrend. Double bottom on the monthly. So the DNA is trying to transition. It's not right at the 20 MA. It's not the best I've ever seen, but it's an interesting idea to watch. I don't have it on the list, I don't think. DCPH, yeah, DCPH is pretty good. A lot of the biotech stocks look higher. This is not even on the list because I don't think it's good for tomorrow. So I'm only sharing the ones with you that I think are going to go for tomorrow. NTR is another one. No, not maybe NTRA. And NTRA I think is on the list actually. Yeah, that's on the list. So we'll get there. So DPRO is a daily buy setup, sort of. I like it higher if it can take out 246. Stop would be under 211. Target 1 would be 3. Target 2 would be about 375. Okay? That's the DPRO. Ear is a little bit thin, but I like it a lot. It's a breakout on the daily chart. So over the base, stop. So over 586. Stop under 518. It's a daily breakout. Nice weekly. It popped, and then a couple of doji bars. So it looks like it's going to break out. I like it. But it's thinly traded. Doesn't do a lot of volume. Copper stocks look really bullish. They're not in a very tight uptrend, unfortunately. But they look higher. If you look at the monthly chart, that's higher. SCCO also is another copper stock. Looks really, really bullish too. I like the FCX, between the two, I would say I would go with the FCX over the base, stop under the pivot, big stop. FSLY is trying to transition also. It's a little bit weak, so I'm not going with it, but it's a watch. I'll keep an eye on it. It's over 1886. If it takes out 1886, that would be the entry. I would use a big stop 1650, okay, on the FSLY. HSIC, I already have 2 medical distribution stocks, but this looks higher, so I'm not going with it because I already have a couple. Long stop, it's a base breakout, okay. And what are they? The 2 ABC is one of them, and then the other one is I don't remember what the other one was, but ABC is one of them. So HSIC is a breakout. KHC, if you didn't get it already, it's not too late. I like it long term. Monthly buy setup, so I like it a lot. This thing is tricky. I traded. I took a position in it already. I don't know where, here maybe, and it failed. This would be my second try, so it's a little bit tricky. NTRA is a base breakout, so over the base, whatever the highest point is. So it's 40. It looks like 4307. Let's double check. Yeah, 4307. Stop can be as tight as 4050. Target 52, which is the bottom of this base right here. It's 52. SCCO we talked about. YINN we talked about. It's the Chinese leverage ETF for FXI over 542, 543. Stop. The tightest would be here. The widest would be there. So under 4, it looks like. Oh, it's over 5. Did I say 4? It's over 542. Stop would be under 450 or 432. Okay, 432. I like it long term as well. Okay, on to the bearish ideas. We have quite a few. Cook looks like it's looking lower. Short under 728. Stop over 770. Okay, no target because it's at all-time low. So no predetermined target. CURI, I believe it was on my list last week, but it didn't trigger. It still looks good short. if it can break under 278, I guess stop would be over 308. Okay, and then notice Ether and is moving up, and Bitcoin moving up a little bit. Last week, if I mentioned Bitcoin looking higher, it shot up a few $1,000s, by the way, last week, after last week's video, right away, shot up. FOSL, I took a stop on it. I shorted it here somewhere, and my original stop was at 11 or so. I lowered the stop to 1041, I believe, somewhere here. It popped, stopped me out. Looks lower again. So under this bar is low, short, stop above it, 943 by 982. IFRX is a 123 play, so under $1.79 short, stop over 204. NEO, it was a big gap down, not my favorite, but if it can break under 1196 would be a short. Stop would be over 1325. All-time low, maybe not. Yeah, all-time low, so no predetermined target. Path was my best play on Thursday by far. I called it in the room, fell apart. I know you might look at it and say, oh, that did it, that's a small red bar. Oh no, it moved. Trust me. Here it is. That's the hourly chart. It moved for 3 hours in a row. So that was a nice play. So there it is. So at any rate, I like it short, but I don't think it's quite ready for tomorrow. But I do like it short, okay? Under 2050, stop over 2321. SDIG, should have shorted it that day under the doji bar because it was under the support also on the chart. I didn't do it. Now it has a 123. So short under 540, stop over 617. And last but not least is SNAX, which has a base breakdown on the hourly chart. So under the base, short, stop above it. No predetermined target because it is, and there goes crypto moving up because it's at all-time low. All right. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you have, as I said, and you'd like to check out the newsletter or check out the day trading room, you can buy one month, get the second month off, free, totally free. Link for that is in the description. If you have any questions for us, reach out to customer service via email, info@t3live.com, info@t3live.com. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and good luck with your trading next week. Take care, everybody.